welcome to CISO Talks episode 8. Today I'm joined by Nathan Powell. He works for Henderson Scott and they are a specialist IT recruiter. Thought it'd be really useful to bring Nathan on the show and ask him some questions about cybersecurity and his perspective as a recruiter. So Nathan, welcome.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. So obviously we've heard a lot about there's a massive cyber skills shortage at the moment. What's your perspective on that? I mean, there is a cyber skill shortage. I mean, that's the first assumption. That's correct, right?
Yeah, I think there absolutely is. I don't think that's just hyperbole or talk in the marketplace. I think demand has been outstripping supply for a number of years now, and I really don't see that changing. The threat landscape and cyber as an industry is just going from strength to strength, and that is creating challenges and a bit of a sort of vacuum of talent in some areas, certainly. And that's certainly where we're finding that the value that we offer can really make a difference.
Are there any specific skills that you feel that we're really lacking that's missing in particular?
I think there's a variety, and that does evolve as well. Certainly, areas like DevSecOps are big right now. We're seeing other areas that are more emerging, like OT, for example. Depending on the type of organisation you are, if you're a big pharma or a manufacturing business, it's imperative nowadays that you're protecting both your IT and your OT assets, and there isn't the skills in the industry right now from an OT point of view. Typically what we're finding is companies are actually going out and finding specific operational technology guys and training them in the cyber bit, because it's still an embryonic marketplace. So and there's lots of companies that require those now, critical national infrastructure, energy and utilities as well. All of these sorts of businesses have a big need in that area. Anything cloud is still massive, whether it's AWS or Azure or Google or Oracle or whatever it might be, any of the big cloud platforms, that stuff is in massive demand, and that isn't going to change in any time soon.
With regards to sort of the C level and the CISO level, I mean, what about that? Are you finding that you're being approached to try and hire for those types of roles as well? Is that sort of high in demand as well?
Yeah, we do. We are, as a business, a sort of complete solution. So we certainly do that CISO type hiring. We were at the White Hat Ball in January, a very CISO driven event, and yeah, absolutely, CISOs are in high demand for sure. Again, trying to find it depends on what your perspective as a customer is, what your budget is, and what the mission is. But the CISO job can cover a multitude of sins, and sometimes actually it isn't always a CISO role. So I think whether it's an information security manager or a genuine CISO, those guys are definitely in demand.
That's interesting. So you think that sometimes people think they need a CISO, or they misunderstand what a CISO actually is when they're coming to you for roles?
Yeah, it can be. I think it depends on the maturity of that company, where they are on their journey in terms of cybersecurity and where their posture is. Certainly for some businesses, you wouldn't need a CISO. You would need more of probably a hands-on doer rather than a senior executive that typically is going to manage functions rather than do hands-on technical work. So I think it really does depend on where you are on the journey, and then also what sort of company you are. Are you a high value target or not? No one's immune, but as we all know, there are certain types of organisations and governments that are perhaps more likely to be attacked than others.
Yeah, and I remember we spoke about this before. I think that the role of a CISO, for example, in a bank might be considerably different to the role of a CISO in a sort of perhaps a less critical industry than that as well. So I suppose that's relevant as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a CISO at a tier 1 investment bank, it's probably about as high pressure as it gets. Extremely high value target. The great thing is that you will have genuine board buy-in. They have a very mature view typically to cyber. They're well along the journey. You've got lots of resource, both in terms of people and money, to go and do stuff that you need to do, but it still doesn't make the job easy. Right.
So in some ways your job's easier because you get more resource, more buy-in, but in some ways it's harder because you've got more pressures and more risks.
Exactly, for sure. I think you do have the ability to buy perhaps the latest piece of technology or go and hire the best talent in the market, but of course, the pressure from the board, and also just that you as a target are perhaps more in the line of fire. So I think absolutely it can vary.
One thing we've talked about quite a bit on this show is around the tenure of CISOs. depends on what stat you read, but 18 months is the one that's been thrown around quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see that, a fair amount of that sort of turnover of CISOs? Is that something you've seen? Or
Yeah,
not?
yes and no. I think, it depends on the environment. To go back to that bank scenario, those guys will understand what a CISO is there to achieve, and will understand also that no matter how much money you spend on people, process and resource, doesn't mean that you're impenetrable.
Of course.
Where perhaps other organisations that have a different view, where perhaps the board doesn't understand how complex the threat landscape is, and the fact that actually nobody can be immune. Yeah, perhaps if you get breached, will they look for a head to roll?
Yeah.
But also on the other side, if you're not backed up, if you're brought in on a mission to build a defence in depth type of security posture, and you're not given the time and the resource to do that, well, actually in a market where you're probably getting tapped on the shoulder regularly by guys like us, there's no shortage of other opportunities for you. So I think that's probably part of the issue as well. Some of it's driven perhaps by the company in terms of how they react when things go wrong. On the other side, it's perhaps driven by the individual based on their perceived opportunity or lack of within the role that they're in currently.
Yeah. And obviously, I guess, a CISO is a very new role. It is, relatively speaking. I mean, it's still, people are trying to work out exactly what a CISO is.
Absolutely.
At many different levels. I mean, do you think that there's also a lack of skills when it comes to being CISOs themselves? Is there a lack of skills? I mean, are there enough CISOs out there?
Yeah, I think probably not is the answer. I think there's a little bit of guesswork with that, but it depends on how you define a CISO.
Of course.
It's a bit like other roles. You can have the title, but actually, are you a real one of those? Whatever those might be. Right. So I think nowadays. A lot of companies want to hire a CISO. It just seems to be the word, but actually, as we've said, when you look at the job description or you discuss what the parameters for that role are, it's really just a security manager that they're looking for, not a CISO. Yeah. So that's we need to look at that and be careful of how we throw these titles around. Yeah,
it's interesting. So we do a fair amount of work in the US, and quite a lot of organisations are really using their CISOs as a marketing asset, and they're really pushing them out there to go and do podcasts and shows, and they really want to try and get active about proving to the outside world that they are responsible and they're mature. I mean, I think that's it's quite interesting to see the way that they're being utilised.
And I think that again, that's probably from a mature point of view. If you look at some of the big mature organisations, these guys the CISOs are visible to the industry. They're almost sort of celebrities within the cyber world now. Some of these guys, of course. So but that's from an organisation where you've got tiers of people. You've got a relative army of people supporting that, and actually the figurehead, the guy or the lady at the top there. Actually, they have senior management, so they can afford to go and do that and actually try and spread the positive message and really. And I think that's a great thing. We need these guys that can go out and speak to the market and try and educate the market, based on their own experience and really try and bring everyone with them. Yeah.
So I was reading that in some regions, true of some more than others. Cybersecurity threats were viewed on par with that of a global recession. I mean, obviously, it depends on where in the world you are as to what your viewpoint on that might be. But I think that's also something else, I suppose, CISOs are having to present to the outside world to say, look, as an organisation, I'm here to make sure that our data's safe and we're safe as an organisation and our money is safe and we're safe to... I suppose that's the fact.
I mean, it's the phrase from someone far smarter than I was that the most powerful weapon in the world now is a keyboard. That's arguably not true, but you understand the essence of that message.
Absolutely,
cyber is a massive problem. The UK government are obviously investing millions and millions of pounds into this. In fact, most nation states, are investing huge money into cyber defence, and they're viewing that now as part of their national security strategy. It isn't just about buying more bombs, more tanks, putting more troops on the ground. It's about actually, cyber is a major problem, and it's, that's why the market is so buoyant. We're talking about governments there, but the threat landscape's evolving almost on a daily basis. The bad guys are getting smarter. Things like AI and machine learning. The bad guys use that too now, right? So they're getting ever smarter. So we need to get ever smarter in response. and they've only got to get lucky once. We've got to be lucky every day to keep them out.